Oh boy. Las Vegas sheriff announces the arrest and the fire attacks on the Tesla dealership. They need to throw everything at these guys. Like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous behavior.
Good morning. I'm Sheriff Kevin McMahill with the
Oh my God, dude. Why do these people always have one channel audio? Like every time, like what the?
Police Department. With me today is Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Spencer Evans, and Assistant Sheriff Dory Corn with the LVMPD Homeland Security and Investigative Services. They'll be two of the individuals speaking. The rest of the individuals up here are also the command team that helped lead through this investigation over the course of the last week. And I'm here to provide you a significant update on the Tesla attack that took place early last week. This event involved an attack on the Tesla Collision and Sales Center on Tuesday.
He forgot to plug in like one of those colored cables. What was it? The yellow one or the red one? He forgot to plug it in.
Tuesday, March 18th at approximately 02:45. The suspect used a firearm and Molotov cocktails to damage the center.
Yellow's video? I don't remember.
That were parked on site. You'll see to my left some of that video that was taken from that night. On the screen next to me is also what I want to highlight to each one of you is the very little information.
Can you guys like really think about like how dumb are these people? Because Teslas have cameras all over them. It's like the one car that will catch you from any angle that you try to vandalize it from.
Investigators and FBI agents had to work with from the initial aspect of this investigation.
They don't even wear masks or anything.
Grainy photograph of the
You sent me a better version? Okay, my mom says she has a better version.
Out in Las Vegas, there has been an active investigation into the...
Yo, Phil and your horse, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you.
The firebombing of a Tesla service center there in Vegas last month. Well, now they do have a suspect arrested. A 36-year-old was booked on more than a dozen felony charges. Let's bring it to you from the beginning right here on Live Now from Fox.
All right.
With me today is Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Spencer Evans.
Oh, God bless, right?
And Assistant Sheriff Dory Corn with the LVMPD Homeland Security and Investigative Services. They'll be two of the individuals speaking. The rest of the individuals up here are also the command team that helped lead through this investigation over the course of the last week. And I'm here to provide you a significant update on the Tesla attack that took place early last week. This event involved an attack on the Tesla Collision and Sales Center on Tuesday, March 18th at approximately 02:45. The suspect used a firearm and Molotov cocktails to damage the center and destroy multiple vehicles that were parked on site. You'll see to my left some of that video that was taken from that night.
That's so bad.
On the screen next to me is also what I want to highlight to each one of you is the very little information that my investigators and FBI agents had to work with from the initial aspect of this investigation. There's a grainy photograph of the suspect's vehicle, a nearly indescribable photo of the suspect himself, and a couple of photographs of headlights and taillights of the vehicle.
The audio is
That's what my investigators had to go on a week ago. Part of this story that you're going to hear is how we arrived at our suspect being taken into custody with such little information. It's incredible work by everybody involved. And despite that minimal information at the onset, and thanks to the hard work and collaborative effort by the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, the LVMPD Counterterrorism Section, and all of our Fusion Center partners, we were able to identify and arrest the suspect involved in this attack. There's a couple social media photos that that have been circulated
I
out
hope
there
that they get
already.
like
The suspect's name is
sentence.
Paul Kim, K-I-M. He's an Asian male adult, and he is 36 years of age. I'm going to transition now to Assistant Sheriff Dory Corn to explain to you exactly what happened over the course of this last week. Sheriff Corn.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning. I'm Assistant Sheriff Dory Korn at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I oversee our Homeland Security and Investigative Services group, which includes our counterterrorism section. I have the opportunity here to provide the details of the investigation, but there's no doubt this was a collaborative effort involving multiple agencies, numerous, actually hundreds of personnel that have been involved. Some of the key people, to include folks that are standing back here, like Lieutenant Rick Myers, who oversees our counterterrorism section, were instrumental. And because of all of their hard work, we were able to quickly identify and apprehend the Tesla firebombing suspect in record-breaking time.
I wonder how they
Based
got
on
him.
the updated evidence that we now have a better understanding, a more comprehensive understanding of what actually happened. And I'm going to provide some details as we walk through a little bit of a timeline on what occurred and then what we know about the suspect now. So we'll begin with just talking about how the suspect arrived. He arrived east of the location in a vehicle, showed up in a black sedan just parked east of the Tesla Collision Center. You can see on this video clip here, we highlighted the area because it's at the top of your screen, and you'll be able to see the arrival of the vehicle. You'll be able to see that the vehicle comes in, originally driving westbound where you can see the headlights, and then turns around where you can see the taillights, and he reverses back into where he parks. The suspect then proceeds on foot and approaches the corner of the building. As you've seen before, and as you've probably heard, and certainly as we're showing today, he attempted to mask his identity.
You know what? Do you guys think that this shit is like there's more to it? Like it's like coordinated? Because like how did so many individual, I mean, I guess I can see that, just individual people just going crazy. Like so many, do you think maybe one person did it and the rest are copycat? Or do you think it is explicitly coordinated? Like it's actually, like there's actual like actual money behind it, you know? Standalone complex is shy. They're plenty on Reddit. It's paid for. People aren't this stupid. I don't know. I can see people being, I can see like it happening one time and then a bunch of like basically self-righteous people like copycat. They do copycat stuff, right?
By wearing black attire, concealing his face, and wearing gloves. The suspect then began shooting the surveillance cameras with what appeared to be a rifle.
Oh, shit.
You can see an image here of the suspect pointing the rifle towards a camera. At least 2 surveillance cameras were damaged by gunfire. And then upon shooting the cameras, the suspect proceeded to the front doors of the Tesla, and he began spray painting the words "resist."
This guy thinks he's playing like a fucking video game or something. Like,
across the doors.
Dude thinks he's like Splinter Cell.
I'll let this video play
It's Metal
you'll get
Gear.
a better shot of the suspect.
Yeah.
You can see his description as he goes across the clear doors there, committing his act of crime. Once he finishes spray painting the words "resist" on the doors, he then approaches multiple Tesla vehicles that were parked in the front of the center. He proceeded to shoot into each vehicle and used a Molotov cocktail to set the vehicles on fire. We'll play a few video clips here to kind of show you his behavior. You can see him right there in the dark clothing. He casually walks over to his first vehicle that's targeted.
Didn't people hear the
He will
gunshots
soon
though?
put down his backpack onto the ground. And then he transitions to the firearm. And you'll see him shoot into the vehicle. Once he shoots into the vehicle, he ends up going back from the vehicle to the bag and then back to the car, presumably picking up his item that he used to be able to firebomb the vehicle. We believe that was a Molotov cocktail. And you'll see in a moment here, the vehicle will ignite and ultimately fully engulf, causing severe damage.
Sorry.
The
Man.
suspect then continues on to a second vehicle, and you can see here he's on to the second target. He'll do very similar behavior where he shoots into the vehicle, he goes into the backpack, retrieves an item, and ultimately you'll notice here that he ends up getting the second vehicle on fire as well. From there, he then proceeds to his third vehicle, repeats the same type of activity. One of the
Hopefully he
incendiary
didn't hurt
devices he was
anyone,
not
right,
able to
Sister
ignite,
Athos?
which is one of the devices that we were able to recover. But ultimately, 5 vehicles were damaged, to include 3 of which were fully destroyed. You can see images of the vehicles here. And then you'll see here a drone video. This is from our Skydio drone, being able to provide an overview of the damage as well.
Didn't they say that this was also a collision center? it's possible that those cars are not even the dealerships, that those cars just belong to like just regular people that like had to get their car got broken, so then they had to like take it in to get it serviced. And then so it happens, okay, so you might not know this if you're not a Tesla person, you might not know this. So the way it works is you take the car to like one of these Tesla dealerships. If you have a problem, you leave it with them, and then they park it in the front at night, and you can pick it up whenever you want. You basically, like, when they finish like fixing your car, they just leave it there so you can pick it up like at night if you want to, right? So it's possible a lot of those cars are just fixed cars or cars that are going to go into repair, that people left them there to be repaired.
After
Will be covered in insurance. It doesn't matter, because even if it's covered by insurance, they're going to increase your insurance rates, or they increase the insurance rates for everybody that owns a Tesla. And that's probably like their whole point is to do this kind of thing, it hurts a lot of people that are not even related to like the whole. And this is the problem with like not just this Tesla thing, but with like BLM and a lot of these kind of leftist protests, like violent protests, is that they say, oh, it doesn't hurt anybody, it's just property damage, but it does hurt people, right? Like it hurts like their livelihoods, like the amount of time that they have to spend dealing with this bullshit, the amount of money that like their premiums are going to increase, like the insurance is going to increase rates because of this. Everything has a cost, even when you destroy property. It does. It affects people's everyday lives. I mean, you might have taken a person, for instance, that was having a really hard time in life. I mean, maybe not in this specific case, because I mean, it still could be. It still could be like a person who really wanted a Tesla. They saved up a lot of money. They don't actually have that much money, but they're like, oh, I really want a Tesla because I want to save the environment, and like I think it's a really nice car. And then you have a person like that buys like kind of the lower, like kind of like a Model 3, like on the lower end, no self-driving, just the basic Model 3, right? You could have a person that did that, and then that was something that they saved up really, really hard for, and then now they have to deal with this, right? And that's time out of your day that you could have spent working, that you could have spent with your kids, with whatever, doing what you love, and they take that away from you, and they say, well, it's just property.
For this, the suspect then proceeds and flees east, gets in his vehicle, and leaves the area. As I mentioned earlier, this case has been worked around the clock, and Sheriff McMahill and Special Agent in Charge Spencer Evans have made it a top priority for our organization.
That's why you can't let this happen. Like you cannot let this slide. You have to go after this as hard as possible.
And put a tremendous amount of workforce behind it to make sure that this was dealt with in a quick manner.
Because you can't encourage it. If you let this happen and you don't give them the hardest punishment possible, then it makes people just want to copy it.
Of that, in 8 days around the clock with our teams, we were able to identify the suspect's vehicle as a black Hyundai Elantra. You'll see a photo here. But what's important to point out here is that this was achieved through an exhaustive review of surveillance material, analytical data, and a canvas of over 700 locations across the valley, ultimately allowing us to piece together critical evidence with speed and precision. You can see on this image here, this is just one example of many where we're using the flock technologies to be able to identify the type of vehicle, including very specific features of the vehicle that build up into additional leads.
Yeah, those taillights are super recognizable.
Get us to the point of identifying the suspect and his vehicle. As of now, a preliminary assessment, and we have a lot of data to go through and a lot of investigative work that needs to be followed up on, but a preliminary assessment of the suspect's social media activity indicates some very loose but self-proclaimed ties to the Communist Party USA social media group, as well as social media groups called Revolutionary Communist International, Hidden Palestine, Palestine Action, and a variety of other social media groups. That is part of our investigation, is to dig further into it and to be able to determine...
What? I didn't see that coming. No way.
Additional motive and other potential concerns. At this point in time, the suspect was placed immediately on 24/7 surveillance by our specialized units to ensure public safety and preserve evidence. Additional evidence was collected as we continued our investigation, and the suspect was ultimately arrested yesterday evening. A search warrant was then obtained and served by the LVMPD SWAT team, which is by far one of the best, if not the best SWAT teams in the country. They were able to do that safely and quickly. And as a part of their operation, we were able to conduct searches of 2 vehicles linked to the suspect's apartment, and we were also able to collect a buccal swab for DNA to be able to compare that to the DNA that we recovered from the scene. Our searches revealed numerous items of interest to include multiple rifles, a shotgun, a handgun, and miscellaneous gun parts. You can see a photo to my left of some of the items that were recovered. We also were able to recover ammunition in multiple calibers to include the caliber that was used in the crime. We also recovered numerous electronic devices, which our partners at the FBI are quickly analyzing. We also recovered a black gun belt with a pouch that had pink paint residue on it. You can see a photo of that to my left, as well as a black backpack with pink paint, face masks, and other articles of clothing that are consistent with the suspect's description.
Oh, man, this guy's so fucked.
We also recovered other key pieces of evidence that we're still evaluating at this time that do connect the suspect to this attack. Finally, I will also say about the search warrants, we were able to do a buccal swab.
What's up, Farrah?
We were able to, our lab did an amazing job quickly collecting that evidence and analyzing it. They
What's up,
worked
Dagger?
through the night, nonstop, late hours, because they know how important this case is to our community. And ultimately, that DNA that was collected from our subject does match. It was a positive identification to the DNA that we collected on scene. It's also worth noting, I'll just kind of conclude here by talking about the charges. So for now, at this point in time, he was charged with numerous felonies to include 3 counts of arson, 3rd degree, 3 counts of unlawful possession of explosive or incendiary device, 4 counts of destroying property, and 5 counts of discharging a firearm into a vehicle.
They should get
or
him with
structure.
terrorism.
The suspect remains in custody, and we're working closely with the Clark County District Attorney's Office and the United States Attorney's Office on the prosecution.
And with
And with
the
that, I
feds
do
do
want
that,
to
right?
transition
Yeah.
to our federal partners, and I'll just emphasize this. I said this last time, which is our partnership is second to none. And it goes with all of our partners that we have, the Fusion Center, but particularly with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the special agent in charge that's here. We've had a remarkable relationship, and this has proven true in this case as well. We've worked hand in hand on all of these cases and on this case as well, and we have a tremendous amount of resources behind it because of the sheriff and the SAC being so committed on this case. So with that, I'll transition to FBI Special Agent in Charge, Spencer Evans.
Good morning. My name is Spencer Evans. I serve as the Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Las Vegas Division. I'd like to just, reiterate what Assistant Sheriff Corin said. My appreciation that we have for the partnership with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. It's nothing short of exemplary. I've been in the FBI for almost 21 years. I've served around the country, and I can tell you the seamless collaboration you see to keep the community safe here in Southern Nevada is unparalleled. The FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, as you've heard, has been investigating this incident and working this case relentlessly since last Tuesday. I was just informed a few minutes ago a federal arrest warrant was issued for the subject, and we anticipate taking Paul Kim into federal custody later today, where he will face federal charges in addition to those announced by Sheriff McMahill this morning.
Terrorism charges?
The arrest announced today showcases the remarkable outcomes that are achievable through collaborative task force partnerships. Although each agency has distinct roles and responsibilities and capabilities, the fight against violent crime is a shared commitment, and that's certainly the case here in Las Vegas. Last week, when we held the press conference, I emphasized that we would leave no stone unturned to identify the person responsible and ensure accountability for these heinous attacks. I appreciate your assistance in amplifying this message through your media coverage. And one final cautionary message for individuals who are contemplating similar attacks. There's nothing courageous or noble about firebombing private property and terrorizing your local community. The self-righteous mob that's cheering you on today to commit acts of violence on their behalf will leave you high and dry and forget about you tomorrow. And at the end of the day, you and you alone will be held responsible and face the prospect of a lengthy prison sentence. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Sheriff McMahill.
Not only that, they're the exact kinds of people that, like, if your opinion on something is even slightly different than theirs, that they'll go after you too. None of these people are actually like allies in like they're what am I trying to say? Their Puritan requirements are so fucking high that it's only a matter of time before they start going after each other.
So I'd like to just give some final comments here and reassure the public that there's no ongoing threat related to the suspect in this attack. That said, we are actively working alongside the FBI to determine if there's any links between this incident and others occurring across our great country. As a precaution, we will continue our increased security efforts around Tesla-related locations, and as always, there's going to be zero tolerance in our community for acts of violence. I also would like to just take a second and highlight this response is I believe our counterterrorism capabilities are among the best in the world. That's all because of the partnerships between LVMPD, the FBI, ATF, DHS, and our other law enforcement partners. It's unmatched, as you've already heard. We had 13 agencies representing over 250 investigators, analysts, and specialists working this investigation. This unified approach is a cornerstone of our ability to respond quickly and effectively, and has proven instrumental in this investigation. And the last part of this I want to talk about, as I showed you at the very beginning, we had nothing to go on. And quite frankly, it was crossed my mind that this might be one of those cases that we may not be able to solve. And I've talked to so many of you here in our local media about my desire to become the most technologically advanced police department in the country. This case is not solved without the use of technology.
That's
The
good.
speed and success of the solve of this case are a direct result of hard work by the police department and the special agents in charge, investigative specialists, and the analysts that all came together to work on this. But the technology is actually what helped solve this. In particular, I want to highlight a number of
With
those
the
technologies,
backpatting
which is our
comments.
flock license plate reader systems, which gave us our first clue, our Skydio drone technology, our digital forensics lab, and all of the things
Oh,
that
they do have a lot of
cell
cool
phones and a
technology, though,
number
that they're
of other
using.
aspects of technology.
They
The
did
public
catch
safety
them.
cameras that we have deployed around our community, our ability to go in and scrub social media through the tools that are provided with technology, forensic analysis of
They gotta
DNA.
like let the taxpayers know that, like, look, we're doing a good job. See all that money we spent? It's not. It's for something. Have to let
Put the
everyone
exclamation
know.
point on this case. His DNA matched what we took from the scene. An investigative genetic genealogy. I'd like to especially thank my Chief of Staff, Mike Gennaro, who's standing behind me here, who's been instrumental in identifying the needs of our organization for technology and helping us get it. And I'll wrap up before I take questions by simply saying thanks to all of you for taking the time to be here. And thank you again from me, Special Agent in Charge, to all of the folks that worked this case, and from counterterrorism and law enforcement. They continue to work tirelessly on this case as we
Well,
have
I mean, to be honest, though, to be fair, it is good for morale for them to like be like, we did a good job, everybody. It's good for the morale of like the police department. I mean, you have to admit the police department has been taking, in the last couple of years, has been taking like many L's from just society hating them.
things to continue to investigate to wrap up the ties.
I kind of understand
the loose ends. And it's a real testament to good old-fashioned police work that these men and women have done. So with that, I will take any questions. What I would ask of you, please identify who you are and who you're with, and then we'll go from there.
All right, I think they're just gonna basically like thank everyone at this point. I think we already got all the info really from it. But yeah, like I hope they do. I hope they do lock them up for a very long time. They should pursue terrorism enhancements to this. I really think so.